Good day, Ninth and O. This is Michael Knight, one of the pastoral interns here at Ninth and O. I want to welcome you as we conclude Psalms. Today we're going to conclude with Psalm 50. And I was just thinking about this. You ever realize when people might ask you questions that you necessarily don't have an answer for, you find yourself making smart aleck quips? Well, I feel like that, and sometimes I get asked questions like, why do you use military on your phone? And I'm grown. I just make these comments, I'm grown, I do what I want. And I think as a result, kind of these smart aleck comments and things are kind of funny sometimes, but the reality is sometimes they can be who we are in our core. And so, for interestingly enough, as a kid, you're dependent on others for direction, for your food, for discipline. And then as an adult, though, you feel this line of ever simple questions like when and what are we going to eat? Those are your prerogative. You don't really have anyone like a kid that kind of gets told when they're going to eat, what we're going to eat. As an adult, you start having these questions that you get to answer to your own prerogative. Well, for many gods who are worshipped in the world, they are more like kids that are waiting to be fed or served, and they're always needing someone to look after them. However, Yahweh in the Bible, the Creator God, is going to tell us here in Psalm 50 that He needs no one. God directs the world. He speaks and summons it. He is not the one who is summoned. We see that in verse 1. In verse 4, you see that He does not need us to exist or survive. And then later in verses 9, 11, 12, you're going to see that He doesn't need food from us. He doesn't need gifts from us. And He is not the dependent one. So God owns all things and He created all things. We forget God. He does not forget us. We serve and address Him insecurely and inappropriately. We think we are too cool for God's school, too grown to be dependent on anyone, including God. However independent we think we are, God is the only independent being ever to exist. We need God even when we think we don't. So what is God trying to teach us in His school, as we see here in Psalm 50? Well, verses 14 and 15, He says to embrace God whilst you recognize your helplessness and your need for Him. We need to listen because God is speaking. We need to be repentant because God is gracious and merciful. And you need to respond because God is righteous and He will judge all of those. And we need to respond today because there is a deadline. He says in this psalm that He will judge the wicked and unrepentant. So you are not too cool for God's school. So seek Him in His Word that you may grow in Him, that you may find Him. Because the day that the teacher comes to grade our assignments, that is, God comes to evaluate who we are and whether or not we've been repentant. We're either going to get an F or we're going to get a pass. And in that time, I hope, Ninth and O, that we can be a part of the joyous who have repented and acknowledged our helpless state and come with us in order. Thank you, Ninth and O. Have a great week.